Hi, this is Chintan Patel and welcome back to the video lecture series of Fundamentals of Machine Design. In this lecture, we are going to learn about the concepts of the Euler's Johnson and Rankine formula. So, the basic concepts regarding the beams and column was already discussed in the previous lecture, and if you have not seen that previous lecture, then I would recommend you to refer that lecture to understand the terms regarding the this chapter, as well as different types of the beams and loads, different types of the supports are also explained in the previous lecture. So, we will start with the first slides where it indicates that the theory of the types of the load on the beam. As I discussed in the previous lecture, that we will see different types of the load in the upcoming lecture, so that you will be able to understand how to calculate the example based on the loading condition. So, the different types of the load acting on the beam are as follows. The first one is the point load. The second one is the uniformly distributed load, and the third one is the uniformly varying load or varying distributed load, and the fourth one is the moment or a couple. So, each and every forces are represented on the diagram like this, where you will find the first force. This one is the point load. It is represented by the arrow line. The uniformly distributed load is the one which is having the same amount or which is having the same intensity of the force throughout this much amount of length or throughout the length of the beam as per the loading condition. The varying distributed load is continuously varying from 0 to maximum or maximum to 0 based on the loading condition for the throughout the length on which it is applied, and the moment or a couple which is represented by this half circle or arc like this, it indicates the moment is applied on the beam at this particular point. Now, the moment can be considered at any point because the value of that moment will be the same or constant throughout the plane of the beam, and that's why we can say that the moment is the same throughout the beam. Now, we will consider the next slide of this chapter, and that is the theory of the failure of the column. So, the failure of the column basically occurs due to the two different stresses. The first one is the crushing failure and the second one is the buckling failure. The crushing name itself indicates that the crushing failure occurs due to the crushing load or crushing stress. The crushing stress is happening due to the contact of the two different components. Now, basically, if we are considering the failure of the column may get the contact with the beam or the ground. And we can say that whenever we are designing a component based on the column concept, then the component may have the contact with the meshing part, and it may cause the crushing failure due to the contact. Now, if you consider the little bit detailed view over here, that it has been observed that when a column or a strut is subjected to a compressive load and the load is gradually increased, a stage will reach when the column will be subjected to a ultimate load. So, beyond this, the column will fail by the crushing, and the load will be known as a crushing load. So, crushing load will create the crushing stress, and which will cause the failure of the column. So, this is one of the basic failure which we are going to utilize to design a column. So, if your column is safe during this crushing, then we may utilize it based on the working condition. The buckling failure is if the load is gradually increased, the column will reach the stage when it will start a buckling, and the load at which the column tends to have a lateral displacement or tend to buckle is called a buckling load. It is also known as a critical load or a crippling load and a bending load. Those are the similar name of those are the synonyms of the buckling, and we will utilize each and every synonyms in our examples also. So, the column is said to have developed an elastic instability. It is also been observed that all the short columns is failed due to the crushing only and not due to the buckling. We may say that this is the buckling failure or also a bending failure. Both are the same. So, bending or a buckling is generally seen in the long column, where a length of the column is larger than the cross section dimension. Now, we will see another part of this lecture, that is the next theory is the types of the end condition of the column. So we will identify different types of the end condition based on the given conditions. So there are 4 types of the end condition. The first one is the both ends hinge or pinned. The second one is the both ends fixed, one end fixed and one end hinge, and one end fixed and other end free. The 4 different diagrams of those conditions are also provided, where you will see that the both ends are hinged over here, from which the beam or a column is able to rotate, and that's why whenever a compressive force P is applied on the column, then it will bend in this manner like this. Okay, so if you consider the second one, where the ends of the column are fixed, then the ends are not able to rotate at the fixed support or fixed condition, and that's why the bending of the column will occur in the intermediate zone and not at the end length. The another condition is the hinge at one end and fix at another end. Then as you can see, the end which is hinged is able to rotate about its hinge connection due to the bending, and the end which is fixed is not able to rotate about its fixed end, and this is the basic difference between the hinge and the fixed connection. Now we will see the another condition, that the one end is fixed, which is not able to rotate, but the rest of the column will try to bend in this manner or in this manner in any direction based on the loading condition. You will have to identify this type of end conditions. So based on the end condition, you will utilize those equation of the equivalent length. The equivalent length is represented by the LE, and LE is represented based on the end condition A, B, C, D. So if you are dealing with the end condition where the both ends are hinged or pinned, then you will consider the equivalent length of the column as a LE equals to L. And for the second condition, LE equals to L by 2, third condition LE equals to L by under root 2, and for the fourth condition LE equals to 2L. So these are the equivalent length which you will require to enter into the Euler's equation. So now we are going to learn the theory of the Euler's equation. This is the very basic theory which can be used to design a column or any machine part using this theory as a column. So there are a lot of assumptions used in the Euler's theory, and that's why it is very important to explore those assumptions first in order to understand the theoretical constraint. So first assumption for the theory is the assumption in the Euler theory, that is initially the column is perfectly straight and the load applied is truly axial. So we are considering that the column is subjected to an axial load only, and initially the column is perfectly straight, there is no end bending available in the column. Now the second assumption is the cross section of the column is uniform throughout its length, and it is not changing with respect to the length. So the third condition is the column material is perfectly elastic, homogeneous and isotropic. So these are the conditions based on which we are going to apply the Hooke's law. So the Hooke's law obeys those rules because of those assumptions. Now the fourth one is the length of the column, which is very large as compared to its cross-sectional dimension. So we can say that we are dealing with the long column and not with the short column. So if you are considering the design of the short column, then the Euler's theory will not be able to give you the accurate answers, and that's why this theory is only applicable for the long columns. The shortening of the column due to the direct compression is neglected. So we are neglecting this type of a deformation due to the direct compression. The failure of the column occurs due to the buckling only. So it is very natural because we are considering the long column only, and the long column is failed due to the buckling load majorly, and that's why we will see the buckling, we will consider the buckling failure of the column only. The weight of the column is itself neglected, and we don't have to calculate the weight for the bending or the buckling. So these were the assumptions which you need to understand before starting the theory. Now we will see the Euler's formula based on those assumptions, and the Euler formula is pretty much clear. According to Euler's theory, the crippling or the buckling load under the various conditions is represented by the general equation, and the Euler's formula gives the correct result only for the very long columns. So if you are considering the design of the longer column, then and then you will utilize those equations of the Euler's theory. Now if you consider this equation, then this equation is represented with the notation PCR, which is nothing but the buckling or the crippling load of the Euler. PCR equals to pi square EI upon LE square. Now in this equation, E is the Young's modulus, I is the moment of inertia, and LE is the equivalent length or the effective length. So if you consider the moment of inertia as a moment of inertia as AK square, then you can directly simplify it as pi square EA upon LE upon K square. Now based on the simplification, you will have to identify the constant, and the constant is nothing but the C pi square E A upon L K square, because the effective length is only calculated using the end condition and fixity coefficient, and this is the C value, which is known as an end fixity coefficient. Now we have introduced the each and every terms in the Euler's formula. We will utilize this formula in the design of the long column or the component which is assumed as a long column. Now we will see another definition based on the Euler's formula, that is a slenderness ratio. In the Euler's formula, the ratio L by K is known as a slenderness ratio. It may be defined as the ratio of the effective length of the column to the least radius of gyration of the section. So it may be noted that the formula for the crippling load in the previous article is based on the assumption that the slenderness ratio is so large that the failure of the column occurs only due to the bending, the effect of the direct stress being neglected, and that's why it is again based on the assumption that our column is long and not the short column. And if it is the short column, your answer of the Euler's formula or the Euler's crippling load will not be accurate as per the up to the mark. Now the slenderness ratio is represented with the lambda notation, which is given as LE by K, and LE is the effective length of the column or the equivalent length of the column, and K is the least radius of gyration, and this was the slenderness ratio. So we will see another theory portion of the limitations of the Euler's formula. So what are the limitations which you need to keep in your mind while using the Euler's formula? Those are the limitations where the Euler's formula does not take into consideration the crushing or the direct compressive failure. So crushing is not considered, we are considering only the bending, and that's why this is not applicable for the short column. Short column failed by the crushing, and hence Euler's formula is not valid for the short column. The slenderness ratio less than 80, for Euler's formula for the mild steel is not valid. The column whose slenderness ratio is more than 80 are known as a long column, and those whose slenderness ratio less than 80 are known as a short column. But this 80 value is valid for only the mild steel material. Okay, if you are considering another material, then this 80 value will be different. You will find another reference based on which you are going to decide whether it is a long or a short column. Then it is thus obvious that this Euler formula holds good only for the long column. So these were the limitations of the Euler's formula, and keeping them in your mind, you should use this formula meticulously and judiciously based on the working condition as well as the requirement. So we will see another formula that is also known as the Johnson's formula or J.B. Johnson's formula. So this gives the good result only for the short and the moderate column. So it is not good for the long column. So whenever you know that your column is a short column or a moderate column, then you will utilize this type of equation. And this equation also gives the value of the PCR is equals to SYC. SYC is the yield strength under the compression. A, that is the area, cross section area of the component, 1 minus SYC LE by K square upon 4 pi square E. So this was the equation of the Johnson's formula. This is also known as a parabolic equation or the straight line equation. There are two different equations for the Johnson's formula. The first one is the parabolic equation and the second one is the straight line equation. But we are not going deeper into that because we need to understand the Rankine's formula also, because based on the Rankine's formula we will be able to understand the design of the column, or a short column or a moderate column. You can directly apply this equation for the long column also, but this will not give the as much accurate answer as given by the Euler's formula. So this formula holds good for the short and the moderate column. So the formula of the Rankine's theory is 1 upon PCR equals to 1 upon PC upon 1 upon PE. The PCR will take the LCM. By taking the LCM, you will get the answer as a PC upon 1 plus PC upon PE, where PC is the crushing load for the column and PE is the critical load obtained by the Euler's formula. So basically what Rankines have done, that he has taken the crippling load from the Euler's formula and combined it with the crushing load which can arise in the short column, and by the combination of both the loading condition he has developed another equation which is given by this equation, and using this equation you will be able to calculate or design any column which is short or moderate. Okay, so if you consider the few assumptions over here, then PC is nothing but the crushing load, and it can be calculated using the SYC into A, and PE is nothing but the Euler's formula, that is pi square EA upon LE upon K square. Now if you put all those values into this equation and simplify, then the simplification, after the simplification you will get this answer, that is SYC into A upon 1 plus alpha LE by K square, where alpha is nothing but a Rankine constant, where the Rankine constant is given by the SYC upon pi square E. Rankine constant for the mild steel is taken as a 1 upon 7500, and for aluminum is taken as 1 upon 5000 Rankine constant. So this was the end of our lecture, where we have seen each and every formulas which we are going to utilize in our upcoming lecture of the examples, where you will see the application of those formula, and that's why this lecture is pretty much important for you to remember those formula and understand the application, that where we are going to use which equation for the long column and which equation for the short column, and based on this we are going to solve our example in the upcoming lecture. So we conclude our lecture over here. Thank you.